What's up YouTube, Jay Traveling here, and today I've got another build for you. I have a 12 GPU build that I'm going to be putting together, and you can see in the video here I got 6 RX 6600s that are in the box, plus behind me I have one more 6600 XT, so that's a total of 7 GPUs, plus I have 5 more running on a rig right now that I'm going to put on this. And I do have this motherboard that I bought on AliExpress. Now this is a B250C motherboard. I put an i3 6300 on it with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and it does post and it is functional. I just have not connected any GPUs to it, but it does seem to be functioning. I have a 450 watt Asus TUF bronze, 80 plus bronze power supply that I will just be using to power just the board and possibly one GPU. I don't know about the GPU. I might just power them all by this server power supply. Now this is an 1100 watt Dell server power supply. I believe it is gold rated, and I will be running one X12 breakout board that I picked up from Parallel Miner, and I have a bunch of cables and splitters that I'll be using on it. And the frame I will be using is this Sluice V2 style frame that you guys seen. I picked up a few of these on AliExpress, and I will be using this frame with a bunch of risers that are going to be a mix between 010X risers that I picked up on AliExpress and some GPU riser.com risers. But I'm going to build this off camera, but this is pretty much the main of what I'm going to be doing. It's all going to be 6600s and 6600 XTs. Now the overclocks I'm going to use, I'm going to pull right off of the ones that I currently have running and apply it to all of them. But I want to get this up and running, and I'm going to do it off camera because it's going to take a little bit of time. This is my first 12 GPU rig that I've built. I did have plans to do one prior with P10690s, if anyone remembers. I may not have even talked about this on camera, but I had originally bought 12 P10690s from eBay when I purchased them, and at the time they were about $32 each, and they were dirt cheap during a bear market. And when I got them, 2 showed up DOA, which are hanging up here. These are dead graphics cards. They're not just graphics cards that I'm not using. They're actually not functional. I did not go through the process of trying to get them fixed or anything because of what they are. I just use them as templates when I'm building frames or modifying frames, and use them in case I slip with my drill and puncture the graphics card. I'm not damaging a good graphics card. I'm damaging an already non-functional one. But I want to get this running off the ground. This will be 7 GPUs actually that I do not have mining right now, that have been sitting on my shelf, and I purchased these back in November. Actually, the end of November, Amazon dropped these 6600s for $449 each, and I was able to buy 6 at one time, so I had them all shipped to me, which was great. I was a little skeptical at first. I almost actually canceled the order. I was debating, and I decided not to, and I'm glad that I didn't, because the price on these has just gone up. I think these retail for $479.99 now, and I wanted to build this 6600 rig, so I'm glad I didn't cancel the order and I stuck with it. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this built off camera, and then I'll show you guys the rig as it sits. I'm probably gonna clear up some of my boxes on my shelf and put it on the bottom underneath my other AMD rigs and have it function down there. And now for fans, I do have right here, I do have 120 millimeter up here fans, RGB, I will put on this. Now these are not hot running cards like some 30 series cards, and I'll just run these fans they run about 54 CFM, I believe, as they are rated plus or minus 10% according to their spec sheet. As you guys know, I do have a bunch of AliExpress fans like the rig here that has 3000 RPM fans that pump 150 CFM. Now I do really like those fans, but I don't think this rig is going to really need them. So I'll have a little bit of RGB and get that all set up. But I'm going to go ahead and get this set up, show you guys the rig and the finished product, and then we'll go inside the computer and I'll show you my overclocks, and then we'll do an ROI on them. This will be mining Ethereum. So let's get it all set up and I'll show you it. All right, here it is. It's fully built. It is on the shelf. I did set the fans to blue, but you can see the server power supply down there. It runs all of the GPUs. and then there's the remote for the RGB, the 450 watt tough one, and then I did put the Asus ones across the top so they all match. And then if we go around to the side, you can see I have my Red Devil there, and then the other cards that were on the rig. Now I did try to manage the cables the best I could, but it's looking pretty solid. But next thing to do is get inside the computer here, and then we will check it out. But this rig is up and running where it's going to be, and I do have them off. I have a fan there, it's blowing cold air that just runs from an open window down there, so it blows it this way and it's going to blow across the cards. They're running pretty cool. But let's go inside the computer now, and then we will check it out, and I'll show you guys the hash rates I'm getting, my overclocks, and then we'll do an ROI on the rig. I do expect this probably to take about a year to pay itself off, but I'll do a breakdown of everything for you. We're inside the computer here, and this is my rig. It's been running for a little bit, a little over 2 days, but I did update it once so it doesn't show. I mean, these gaps aren't a big deal. That happens a lot in Hive OS. You'll see gaps like this, but it's still mining on the pool. But it's averaging roughly 356 to 357 mega hash. Now these are my overclocks here. Now you will notice my memory on my 6600 XTs is a little bit higher, but they're yielding a little bit more of a mega hash. So my 6600s are getting 28, almost 29 mega hash a second, and my 6600 XTs are just over 32 mega hash a second on all three of those. And software is reporting 635 watts. Now I did add a little bit to that for the calculation. I added about 100 watts to just to consider riser power and board power. Now I don't have an exact number on wattage it's pulling at the wall. Since it's on a PDU, I don't have that power reading, so I just estimated it a little bit more than what software is reading, just to be on the safe side. Now, as far as what I spent on this rig, here is my Excel sheet. So my base price for the system is roughly $631. Now I did round these numbers. They're not exactly down to the penny like I normally would do, but the motherboard that I bought from AliExpress was $88. Now my processor and RAM, I bought a board used on Facebook Marketplace, had it on my shelf, and it turned out to not work, so I reused that CPU and RAM. But I did put a price in here because I did pay for that motherboard. Now this is a little bit less than what I paid for it, but I didn't want to factor in the price of the actual board even though it's broken. So I gave some rough estimates for RAM and processor, so these aren't exact. Now my frame after shipping was about $105. Now this is a AAA Sluice V2 style frame, but it's not. It's a knockoff from AliExpress. My fans are up here, fans like I showed you guys, and this is for 2 6-packs. So I do still have 4 fans left over. So if I wanted to, I could break it down to per fan, but that's really not how you should do it because you still have to pay that upfront cost. Now my ATX Power Supply, this came in a package, so I put $70 in the package on Newegg. It sells for $80, so I put $70 since it wasn't a package. I got a discount for it. Now my server power supply. Now this is definitely a rough estimate. The actual power supply was $9. Then I had to buy the breakout board for $12. Then all the cabling and the splitters. So it came after calculating everything, it came out to roughly $105 for the 1100 watt power supply and all the cabling. The risers came out to $101. Now this is a mix of GPUriser.com risers and then a cheaper pack that I got off of AliExpress that are 8-cap. So that since I bought GPUriser.com ones, this went up. This actually is really high. If I would have just bought them all off AliExpress and they had 8-cap risers on it, this would have been down probably closer to $67. But that gives my total system cost of $631. Now all my 6600, 6600 XTs, these are the prices I paid for them all. Now this was, the 606 was an XT, the 470 was an XT, and the 440 I think was an XT. Now I did get one XT almost right at launch, so that was why it was much cheaper than other ones. Then the 450 was all my Asus ones, and then the other two. I did get one open box at Micro Center, so it was roughly $400 after tax. So GPU wise, $5,490 invested into this rig. Now, one thing to note is I've been buying these parts since September, so it wasn't all one hit. I did have some running on a 5-card rig while I was still buying more parts. And then 6 Aces ones that I got on Amazon kind of sat on the shelf for a little over a month. But this gives me a total cost of $6,121 into this rig. Now, some people may break this down into dollars per mega hash, but I like to look at mega hash per watts, and with these cards, that's pretty efficient. Now, on other algorithms, I don't know how great these will be, but on Ethereum, they're really efficient cards. So let's look at base ROI. So I did plug in some numbers, but we'll go to what to mine here in a second. So I have my 6121, which is basically what I'm into this system for. Now, I estimated at 5,700, but I did dig up all these receipts to get a better estimate. So I'm pretty high, and it's actually kind of disturbing to see the actual final price of this rig considering what it is, but it is a 12 GPU rig. But let's check out what to mine here. Now I have 356 and 740 watts plugged in. I'm not as worried about the wattage here because I already have calculated out how much it's going to cost me per day to run this rig, which is roughly, if we look at the sheet, $2.32. So let's look at what it is, and Ethereum is at $3,308 right now, and these are rough estimates, so don't go too crazy believing everything you see on this site. It's just giving you a rough estimate of what you would earn mining on a pool. So let's recalculate. So $18.74 per day. So if we're looking at that with a $2.32 per day cost to run this rig, we're roughly $16.42 profit per day. So I'm looking at 373 days to ROI this rig. Now, I do have another page, and Hashrate was kind enough to share this file with me. So guys, check out his channel also, and give him some love, a like, subscribe, and everything else. But he breaks this. He actually has this to break it down even more. I don't use this file because this is like if I were to sell the GPUs, and I don't like to look at if I were to sell them. I like to look at if I were to just keep running these at today's market, how long it would take. So just over a year to ROI. Now I plan on running these cards for well over a year. I do like these cards because of the efficiency. So if we did look at the power consumption that's reporting. Now I try to add, like for AMD, like 10 more watts to say that that's what it's going to be running, but that's much less than my 580. So if we look at my 580s, they're running 31 point some mega hash a second, but they're running probably 80, almost 90 watts each with riser power, where we have this rig running, with riser power, maybe 60 watts on each card. So, I'm pretty happy with this rig. I will monitor it over the next few days, but it's been really stable. GPU 3 did crash on me once. It said it reported dead in the miner, and I left it alone for now because I have had that happen, and it really is just like a false error. But in that case, when it does, I'll lower the memory just slightly and maybe up the millivolts just a tad bit, just to give it a little bit more power. But as of right now, I'm leaving it as it is. It's been running for multiple days with only just one crash so far. I mean, it's been probably almost 4 days since I've had it up and running. So I'll leave it. Plus an update may help solve that issue. So we'll see. But let's check the sheet out. So that's just to give you guys a rough estimate. So you guys seen the build. 12 GPUs, mainly 6600s, but with a few 6600 XTs. Now, if these were still the price they were at launch day, these would be the go-to card in my opinion. But the fact that they're up closer to $600 for a 6600 XT, it's tough to put that upfront cost down just because of the ROI time. But I still think they are worth it to buy and build a rig out of, just because of how little power to use. But thanks for checking this video out. It's a little longer than my usual ones. Hopefully you guys got some good info on the 6600 and 6600 XTs if you're interested in them. But make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more.